Before prosperity appears in the visible world, it enters your life as something almost imperceptible. A feeling, a whisper, a subtle inner certainty that cannot yet be proven. Most people ignore this sacred beginning because they have been trained to worship only what can already be seen. Yet the ancient keepers of wisdom understood that the invisible always precedes the visible. The unseen blueprint comes before the monument. The silent intention comes before the fulfilled reality. The inner harvest is planted long before the outer field ripens beneath the sun. You must learn to honor beginnings that cannot yet be explained. Consider the seed buried beneath winter soil. To the untrained eye, nothing is happening. The earth appears still and empty, yet beneath layers of darkness, an invisible intelligence is awakening. The seed does not panic because no one applauds its progress. It does not break open the soil prematurely to seek reassurance from the world above. It remains hidden while life rearranges itself in silence. This is the first law of sacred abundance. What is protected in silence gains strength. Many souls lose their prosperity before it is born because they expose their inner visions too early.
They speak sacred desires into rooms filled with distracted minds. They offer fragile dreams to people who cannot recognize the language of becoming. And slowly, the subtle energy surrounding the vision begins to weaken beneath doubt, mockery, or careless conversation. Guard your becoming as ancient monks guarded sacred manuscripts from invading fire. There is power in secrecy that the modern world has forgotten. In ancient deserts, alchemists worked through the night behind sealed doors. Their transformations required
privacy, because interruption altered the delicate balance of their work. So too must you protect the inner alchemy of your prosperity. Tonight, you will begin your first ritual. When darkness settles and the world grows quiet, sit alone before a single candle. No music, no distractions, no audience. Bring with you a small blank page. Upon this page, write only one sentence. I welcome the silent multiplication of sacred abundance within my life.
Write slowly. Do not decorate the words. Do not explain them. Let them remain simple and pure, like a seed lowered gently into fertile earth. Then close your eyes. Imagine that somewhere beneath your visible life, there exists a hidden garden. In this garden are seeds representing every prosperity you seek: peace, wealth, purpose, vitality, freedom, sacred work, harmonious relationships, and inner sufficiency. See yourself walking through this garden silently. Do not force the seeds to grow. Merely acknowledge that they already exist beneath the soil of reality. Feel gratitude, not for visible evidence, but for invisible becoming. Remain there for several minutes. Then fold the paper and place it somewhere private where no other eyes will find it. This act may appear small, yet subtle rituals reshape the architecture of consciousness. The invisible mind responds not merely to words, but to sacred repetition performed with reverence. A quiet ritual repeated faithfully becomes a spiritual command impressed upon the deeper layers of reality. There is an old story preserved in fragments among wandering mystics. A young craftsman once approached an elderly builder known throughout distant kingdoms for constructing temples of extraordinary beauty. The young man expected to discover secret tools or hidden formulas. Instead, he found the old builder sitting silently beside unfinished stone. For many hours, the elder said nothing. At last, the young craftsman grew impatient. "Master," he asked, "when will the temple be built?" The old builder touched the stone gently and replied, "The temple is already complete within silence. My hands merely reveal what stillness has already formed." The young craftsman did not understand then, but years later, after many failures born from haste and pride, he finally recognized the teaching. Creation happens twice. First, within the invisible realm of inner alignment,
then within the visible world of form. Those who attempt the second without mastering the first become exhausted by endless striving. But those who cultivate silent certainty discover that reality begins arranging itself around their inward state, like iron drawn toward hidden magnetism. This is why sacred solitude matters. You cannot hear deeper intelligence while drowning in constant noise. The soul requires stillness, the way clear water requires an undisturbed surface to reflect the moon. From this day forward, create small sanctuaries of silence within your life. Walk sometimes without carrying the burdens of conversation. Eat one meal each day, slowly and without distraction. Sit quietly before dawn, if possible, allowing yourself to become inwardly spacious before entering the demands of the world. You are not withdrawing from life. You are withdrawing from interference. There is a difference. The world often praises visible motion while misunderstanding invisible preparation. Yet the river carves stone not through forceful display, but through quiet persistence over time. Your abundance shall emerge in the same manner, not through frantic declaration, but through sacred consistency. You will begin noticing subtle changes. Your mind will become less reactive. Your desires will grow clearer. Opportunities once hidden will begin appearing with unusual timing. Encounters will feel guided. Inner resistance will loosen like old chains dissolving beneath water. Do not announce these shifts. Observe them quietly. The ancient sages taught that energy expands most purely when untouched by the hunger for external validation.
A flame protected from harsh wind burns steadily through the night. So too must you become like the hidden flame. There will be moments when loneliness visits your path, moments when silence feels unfamiliar because the world has conditioned you to seek constant stimulation. Yet beyond this discomfort lies immense spiritual wealth. For in silence, you begin hearing what was always trying to reach you, the deeper voice beneath fear, the intelligence beneath confusion, the quiet abundance beneath apparent emptiness. And slowly, like a seed awakening beneath unseen soil, your life will begin opening from within.
there is a face beneath the face you show the world. It does not age in the same manner as the body. It does not speak through ordinary language. It watches quietly from behind your eyes, recording every hidden belief you hold about yourself, about worthiness, about abundance, about what you believe you are permitted to receive from existence itself. This unseen self becomes the silent architect of your reality. Many seek prosperity while secretly carrying inner images of lack. They ask for abundance with their lips, while their deeper identity remains chained to old stories of insufficiency. The outer world then reflects this hidden contradiction back to them, not as punishment, but as resonance. The mirror of life does not respond to surface words. It responds to the image held in the sanctuary of the inner self. The ancients knew this mystery well. Within hidden chambers of old temples, initiates were instructed to gaze into polished obsidian mirrors by candlelight, not to admire appearance, but to encounter the invisible
assumptions shaping their destiny. For what you repeatedly believe yourself to be becomes an energetic command whispered continuously into the fabric of reality. You become what you silently consent to within. This is why transformation must begin not with action alone, but with sacred identity. A poor spirit may temporarily acquire gold, yet remain inwardly impoverished. Soon, the gold dissolves away like water slipping through open fingers. But one who becomes inwardly abundant begins attracting circumstances aligned with that inner condition, often through pathways too subtle for logic to predict. You must therefore learn the ritual of the unseen self. Tonight, stand before a mirror in complete solitude. Dim the lights until only softness remains within the room. Light a single candle if possible, allowing the flame to become a quiet witness beside you. Then look into your own eyes without judgment. Do not adjust your appearance, do not criticize the body, do not search for flaws. Merely remain present before yourself, as though meeting an ancient traveler who has crossed many lifetimes to arrive here. At first, discomfort may arise. Most people avoid true stillness before their own reflection because the deeper self begins surfacing there. Beneath the practiced expressions and familiar masks, hidden emotions awaken. Old griefs rise, forgotten
Longings stir gently beneath awareness. Remain calm. You are not there to repair yourself. You are there to remember yourself. As you gaze quietly, begin speaking inwardly. I am becoming inwardly harmonious with sacred abundance. Repeat the words slowly. Do not force belief. Let the phrase settle into you like rain entering dry earth. Then, imagine another version of yourself standing behind the reflection. This unseen self moves differently, breathes differently, carries quiet certainty within every gesture. There is no desperation within this being, no frantic striving, no hunger for validation. This version of you already knows abundance as a natural state. Observe how this unseen self stands, how it looks at the world, how calmly it receives opportunities, how gracefully it moves through life without chasing or forcing. Now, allow the boundary between yourself and this inward image
To soften. Feel yourself merging gently with this prosperous identity, not pretending, not performing, becoming. The world often teaches people to pursue wealth externally while neglecting the inner vessel receiving it. Yet ancient mystics understood that identity precedes manifestation, the way dawn precedes sunrise. You do not attract what you merely want. You attract what your deeper self quietly believes it is. There is a hidden reason why secrecy strengthens manifestation. When a sacred identity is still forming within you, outside voices can distort the process. The opinions of fearful people act like fingerprints pressed into soft wax before it hardens. Their doubts become interruptions within your energetic field. Protect your emerging self-image in silence. Do not explain your inner transformation to those who mock unseen things. Do not seek approval for sacred practices from minds devoted entirely to appearances. The roots of the oak tree grow longest beneath darkness, before branches touch the sky. So too must your new identity deepen privately. There is an old parable told among wandering hermits. A traveler once discovered a hidden spring high within a mountain forest. The water possessed unusual purity, restoring strength to anyone who drank from it. Filled with excitement, the traveler rushed back to the nearest village, announcing the discovery to all.
Soon crowds arrived. Some polluted the spring carelessly. Others argued over ownership. Some doubted its power while muddying the water with restless feet. Before long, the spring lost its clarity entirely. Years later, an old hermit found the traveler grieving beside the ruined waters. The hermit spoke softly. Sacred things weaken beneath noisy hands. Your inner abundance is like this hidden spring. Protect it
from unnecessary exposure, not out of fear, but reverence. As you continue this practice, you may notice subtle shifts within ordinary life. Your posture may change without conscious effort. Your voice may grow calmer. Certain conversations will begin feeling exhausting because they no longer resonate with your inner condition. Do not resist this refinement. A new energetic atmosphere is forming around you. People often misunderstand prosperity as accumulation alone. Yet true abundance begins as energetic spaciousness within the soul. It is the dissolving of inward poverty long before material conditions transform. An abundant being does not cling desperately because they trust the unseen currents of life. They move with patience. They understand sacred timing. They no longer leak energy through endless explanation, comparison, or performance. This inward composure becomes magnetic, not because you attempt to control others, but because reality itself responds differently to coherence than it does to inner fragmentation. From this day onward, practice carrying your unseen identity quietly throughout the world. When walking through crowded places, imagine yourself surrounded by silent golden light. When handling money, touch it with gratitude rather than anxiety. When speaking to others, remain inwardly rooted, like a tree unmoved by passing wind. Most importantly, stop rehearsing limitation within your inner dialogue. The unseen self listens continuously. Each thought becomes a subtle instruction. If you repeatedly declare inwardly that life is against you, the deeper mind obeys this pattern faithfully. But if you cultivate silent certainty, new pathways slowly emerge from dimensions beyond conscious prediction. This is not fantasy. It is resonance. The moon shapes tides without touching the ocean. Invisible roots nourish entire forests beneath the earth. And your hidden identity quietly shapes the architecture of your visible existence. Remember this always. The world sees only fragments of who you are becoming. The deeper transformation happens in silence first. One day, others may call your prosperity mysterious. They may wonder how your life changed so
gracefully, how opportunities found you, how peace settled so deeply within your presence. You need not explain. The seed never announces the hour it becomes the tree.
There are works of great power that leave no immediate trace upon the world. The mountain gathers snow silently through the night, before rivers are born from its hidden stores. The pearl forms in darkness beneath the sea. The moon alters the tides without reaching down to touch the water. And so it is with the deeper laws of prosperity. The most potent movements often occur beyond the sight of others. Yet the modern spirit has become addicted to display. Many cannot act without announcing the action. They seek witnesses before completion, applause before mastery, recognition before embodiment. Their energy disperses outward before it has gathered inward strength. Like incense scattered into storm wind, their intention weakens through constant exposure. The ancient keepers of wisdom practiced another path. They cultivated invisible action, quiet movements charged with sacred intention,
deeds performed without performance, ritual labor offered privately to the unseen architecture of reality itself. This discipline refines the soul. For when you act without craving observation, your energy stops leaking through the hunger for validation. The action becomes pure, focused, magnetized with inward coherence rather than outward performance. You begin building spiritual substance beneath appearances. This is how silent abundance grows. There is an old tale preserved among desert mystics concerning a hidden builder who lived near the edge of an ancient kingdom. Each night, while the city slept, the builder carried stones alone into the wilderness beyond the village walls. No one knew where he went. No monuments appeared. No temple could be seen. The people mocked him quietly. Some believed he had lost his mind. Years passed. Then one season, a violent flood descended from the mountains, destroying homes and washing away roads. The villagers fled toward higher ground in panic, only to discover an enormous stone sanctuary standing untouched beyond the valley, a structure vast enough to shelter the entire kingdom. The hidden builder had spent decades constructing refuge in silence. While others spoke endlessly of greatness, he practiced invisible action. Remember this story when impatience visits you. The unseen foundations of your prosperity matter more than appearances. Today you will begin another sacred practice. Choose one action each day that nourishes your future abundance, yet tell no one about it. It may be a quiet hour
Spent studying sacred knowledge, a hidden savings ritual, a private act of generosity, a solitary walk visualizing your future self, the careful refinement of a skill, the writing of intentions beneath candlelight, the organization of your living space to welcome higher order into your life. Do the action reverently. Then release the need for acknowledgement entirely. Allow the act to remain hidden, like roots beneath fertile earth. At first, the ego may resist this discipline. Part of the mind longs to be seen. It seeks reassurance that progress is occurring. Yet every time you complete a sacred action without external validation, your inner authority strengthens. You stop depending upon the world to confirm your becoming. This changes the energetic structure of your reality. For the one who requires constant recognition becomes vulnerable to the opinions of others. Praise inflates them. Criticism weakens them. Their inner climate changes according to external weather. But the practitioner of invisible action
Develops something rarer, quiet sovereignty, a stillness untouched by temporary reactions. There is immense spiritual power in becoming inwardly self-confirming. Ancient alchemists understood this principle deeply. Their work demanded secrecy not merely to protect formulas, but to preserve concentration. Every transformation required uninterrupted devotion. Gold was not created through noise, but through patient refinement hidden from chaotic influence. Your life is its own sacred alchemy. Each silent action becomes another layer within the unseen architecture of your future. Do not underestimate small rituals. A single candle lit nightly with devotion alters consciousness over time. A whispered affirmation repeated faithfully enters the deeper mind like water slowly shaping stone. A hidden habit practiced consistently becomes a river carving new pathways through reality. Most people abandon transformation because they worship dramatic evidence. But the deeper laws move gradually, organically, almost invisibly at first. The tree does not burst from the seed in one violent motion. It unfolds through sacred sequence. So must you. Tonight, before sleep, place both hands over your chest and close your eyes. Imagine your life as an unseen temple under construction. Some chambers are already complete. Others remain unfinished. Certain hallways are still dark with dust and silence. Yet somewhere within this temple, Workers of light continue their labor, even while you sleep. See them carefully placing golden stones. One stone represents discipline. One represents faith. One represents patience. One represents abundance. One represents inner peace. Do not rush the construction. Feel gratitude that the temple is already becoming. Remain with this vision for several moments. Then sleep without anxiety regarding outcomes. The unseen continues moving. There is another reason invisible action multiplies prosperity. Silence concentrates energy. Every spoken intention releases a portion of psychic force outward. This is why sacred traditions often required vows of silence before initiations, pilgrimages, or manifestation rituals. The conserved energy became fuel for transformation itself.
Words possess creative power, but restrained words possess stored power. You must learn the sacred balance between expression and containment. Not every dream requires announcement. Not every plan requires discussion. Not every blessing requires display. Some energies mature best in privacy. Notice how nature protects its most delicate processes. The womb is hidden. Roots grow underground. The cocoon conceals transformation until the wings are ready. Creation protects itself through secrecy until strength is established. You are part of this same law. As your practice deepens, you may begin noticing a subtle magnetic shift in your life. Opportunities may arise unexpectedly. Helpful encounters appear with unusual timing. Ideas arrive during still moments, as though carried by invisible currents. Receive these signs quietly. Do not become boastful. Do not attempt to prove spiritual power to others. Pride scatters energy outward again. Remain humble before the mystery. The purpose of silent abundance is not superiority. It is alignment. True prosperity softens the spirit rather than inflating it. It creates calmness instead of arrogance. The soul no longer grasps desperately because it trusts the unseen rhythm beneath all things. You will also begin noticing how much energy the world wastes through unnecessary speech. Endless explanation, endless argument, endless performance. Observe this without judgment. Then return inwardly to your own stillness. There is strength in becoming difficult to disturb. The sacred practitioner moves quietly through life while building inward empires invisible to the casual eye. Others may underestimate you because they mistake silence for emptiness. Let them. The mountain does not announce its height. The ocean does not advertise its depth. And the soul aligned with silent abundance no longer needs to display its becoming. For all true wealth grows strongest where few eyes are watching. There are places within you that cannot awaken in the presence of noise. Not because the world is evil, or because human connection lacks beauty, but because certain revelations arrive only when the soul stands alone, long enough to hear its deeper rhythm. The sacred voice beneath ordinary thought speaks quietly. It does not compete with constant distraction. It waits patiently for stillness. Most people fear solitude because they have mistaken it for emptiness. Yet true solitude is not abandonment. It is consecration. The ancient mystics withdrew into deserts, forests, caves, mountains, and silent monasteries, not to escape life, but to remember its hidden source. Away from crowds, they discovered that abundance does not begin in possessions, but in attunement. They learned that a spirit deeply rooted within itself becomes like a hidden spring, untouched by drought. You must therefore build an inner temple of solitude, not as permanent isolation, but as sacred return. For when you spend every moment immersed in the emotions, opinions, and desires of others, your energy becomes tangled. The mind loses clarity. Inner guidance weakens beneath external influence. You begin living reactively rather than intentionally. Solitude untangles the spirit. Within silence, you begin sensing which thoughts are truly yours and which were inherited unconsciously from fear, culture, or restless voices surrounding you since childhood. This recognition alone is transformative. There was an old account among wandering sages of a king who possessed
unimaginable wealth, yet remained inwardly tormented. He summoned scholars, priests, physicians, and philosophers from distant lands, seeking peace. All offered advice, rituals, and explanations, yet nothing relieved the heaviness within him. At last, an elderly hermit was brought before the king. The hermit listened quietly, then spoke only these words: "You have never sat alone long enough to meet yourself." The king became offended, yet desperation drove him to obey. He left the palace disguised as an ordinary traveler and entered a small stone hut deep within the mountains. There, without servants, distractions, or praise, he spent many silent weeks alone. At first, he felt unbearable discomfort. His thoughts screamed for stimulation. Old fears surfaced. Regrets rose from forgotten corners of memory. Yet gradually, another presence emerged beneath the turbulence, a vast inner stillness he had never known. When the king finally returned to his kingdom, nothing outwardly had changed. Yet his presence carried quiet gravity. Decisions became clearer. Anxiety loosened its grip. Prosperity flowed more harmoniously through the kingdom because the ruler himself had become inwardly ordered. The hermit had not given him riches. He had returned him to silence. This is the forgotten medicine of the soul. You do not truly hear your deeper wisdom while constantly surrounded by noise. Today, you will begin constructing your own ritual of sacred solitude. Choose a specific place that will become your private sanctuary. It need not be grand. A corner beside a window, a chair near candlelight, a place beneath a tree. What matters is consistency and intention. This space is not ordinary. It is your inner temple made visible. Keep it simple. Let it remain uncluttered. You may place there a candle, a small bowl of water, a stone gathered from nature,
or an object that reminds you of timelessness. Do not overcrowd the space with symbols. Silence itself is the true altar. Each day, enter this sanctuary for at least 15 minutes. No devices, no conversation, no searching for distraction. Simply sit. At first, the mind may rebel. Thoughts will wander restlessly through unfinished tasks, fears, desires, memories, and imagined futures. Do not fight this movement violently. Observe it gently, like watching clouds pass across a distant sky. Then, begin slowing your breath. With each inhale, imagine drawing stillness inward. With each exhale, Release noise from the body and mind. After several minutes, silently repeat within yourself, I allow abundance to find me through sacred stillness. Feel the words settling beneath thought, not as demand, as permission. Remain there quietly.
Over time, something extraordinary begins occurring within consistent solitude. Your inner atmosphere changes. Reactions soften, intuition sharpens, desires simplify. The nervous system gradually exits survival and enters receptivity. And receptivity is essential to manifestation. For many, attempt to force abundance while inwardly vibrating with tension. Yet abundance flows most naturally toward the spirit that has become spacious enough to receive it. The closed fist cannot receive water. The quiet, open hand can. This is why solitude multiplies prosperity. It restores energetic spaciousness. There are answers already moving toward you that cannot enter a crowded mind. There are opportunities waiting for the moment your inner noise subsides enough to perceive them. There are blessings delayed, not by punishment, but by overstimulation. Silence clears the path. The ancient Taoist sages taught that muddy water becomes clear not through force, but through stillness. So too does your life begin clarifying when you stop compulsively stirring it through anxiety and constant reaction. You will notice subtle transformations. Moments once filled automatically with distraction will begin feeling sacred. Dawn may appear more luminous. Ordinary sounds become soothing. Even simple acts, preparing tea, walking slowly, folding cloth, lighting a candle, gain quiet depth. This is not withdrawal from life. It is deeper participation in life. For the distracted soul skims existence only at the surface, while the silent soul begins touching the hidden current beneath appearances. Protect these moments carefully. Do not explain them to those who cannot understand sacred solitude. Many people fear silence because it confronts them with themselves. They rush endlessly toward stimulation to avoid hearing the deeper voice within. But you are walking another path now, the path of inward refinement. There will be evenings when loneliness visits your sanctuary. Sit anyway. There will be days when the ritual feels uneventful. Continue anyway. Sacred transformation rarely announces itself dramatically. It gathers slowly, like moonlight filling a dark room. Trust the gradual work. A hidden root system may spread for years before the first visible bloom appears above the earth. So too are unseen changes unfolding within you now. The spirit that learns to dwell peacefully in solitude becomes difficult for the world to manipulate. Such a being no longer chases approval desperately. They no longer scatter energy seeking constant reassurance. Their center deepens beyond external turbulence. This inward stability becomes magnetic. People may sense unusual calm around you without understanding why. Opportunities may begin arriving with less struggle. Synchronicities increase. Timing feels guided rather than forced. Do not cling to these effects. Remain devoted instead to the silence itself. For sacred solitude is not merely a technique for gaining wealth. It is remembrance of your original wholeness beneath the noise of the world. And from that wholeness, abundance flows naturally, like water descending from an untouched mountain spring. There are moments when the veil between the visible and invisible becomes thinner. Ancient mystics knew this. They understood that time is not merely mechanical movement measured by clocks and calendars. Time possesses texture, atmosphere, spiritual tides. Certain hours nourish manifestation more deeply because the collective noise of the world softens, allowing subtler energies to emerge. The sacred practitioner learns to recognize these hidden openings. For abundance does not flow only through effort, it flows through alignment with divine timing. Most people move against the rhythm of life. They force action during inward seasons of stillness and hesitate during moments ripe for transformation. They live disconnected from the deeper pulse moving beneath existence itself. But the soul devoted to silent abundance becomes attentive to sacred timing, like a sailor reading hidden currents beneath the surface of the sea. There is an ancient story told among wandering ascetics concerning a gardener who cultivated extraordinary flowers in the middle of a barren desert. Travelers journeyed
From distant kingdoms simply to witness the impossible beauty blooming around his hidden sanctuary. Many asked the gardener for his secret. Some believed he possessed magical soil. Others suspected rare seeds gathered from forgotten lands. Yet the old gardener only smiled gently and replied, "I water them during the hour when the desert is listening." No one understood. At last, one curious traveler remained awake through the night to observe him. Just before dawn, during that mysterious stillness when darkness begins surrendering itself to light, the gardener emerged silently, carrying water. The air itself felt different then. The world seemed suspended between breaths. He watered the flowers without speaking. Years later, the traveler finally understood the teaching. The gardener was not merely watering plants. He was working in harmony with sacred timing. So must you. There are hours when your spirit becomes more receptive to abundance, insight, healing, and manifestation. These hours exist naturally within the architecture of life itself. The first is the hour before dawn. In many traditions, this time was considered holy because human thought fields remain quieter then. The world has not yet fully awakened into noise and demand. Consciousness rests closer to the invisible realms from which intuition emerges.
If possible, rise occasionally before sunrise. Not every day through forceful discipline, but regularly enough to enter communion with this sacred atmosphere. Do not begin with haste. Sit quietly in darkness or soft candlelight. Allow yourself to breathe slowly while the world remains hushed around you. During this hour, your thoughts possess unusual potency. The subconscious mind becomes more permeable. Intentions settle deeper into the energetic field. Visualizations gain clarity. Prayer travels differently through the stillness. This is an ideal time for your silent prosperity rituals. Place your hands gently over your heart. Then imagine your life already harmonized with abundance.
Do not focus obsessively upon material details. Instead, feel the emotional atmosphere of fulfilled prosperity, peace, spaciousness, freedom, gratitude, purpose, quiet sufficiency. See yourself moving through ordinary life with inward ease, bills handled calmly, opportunities arriving naturally, creative work flourishing, relationships becoming harmonious, your home filled with serenity. Feel this reality softly rather than straining toward it. The invisible responds more readily to coherent feeling than desperate demand. Remain there several moments, then whisper inwardly, "What is meant for me is already finding its way through sacred timing." Allow the words to dissolve into silence afterward. The second sacred hour arrives after sunset. This is the hour of release. Throughout the day, Human beings absorb countless impressions, emotions, anxieties, and energetic disturbances from the outer world. Evening rituals help cleanse this accumulation before sleep, preventing the subconscious from becoming overcrowded with fear and noise. As darkness settles, reduce unnecessary stimulation whenever possible. Dim lights, speak more softly, move more slowly. Treat evening not as empty time to escape from yourself, but as preparation for inner restoration. Before sleep, sit quietly for several minutes and review the day gently, not with harsh judgment, with awareness. Ask yourself, where did I
leak energy today? Where did fear speak through me? Where did abundance already reveal itself quietly? Then imagine placing the entire day into a flowing river of light. Allow regrets, tensions, and unfinished thoughts to drift away downstream. You are teaching the nervous system to trust life again. This trust becomes magnetic. The anxious spirit repels abundance because it continually broadcasts fear of insufficiency into the field of reality. But the calm spirit becomes receptive, open, harmonious, like fertile earth welcoming rain. There is another hidden teaching concerning sacred timing. Not every vision should be acted upon immediately. Some dreams require gestation. A seed forced open too soon dies before becoming a tree. Fruit harvested before ripening lacks sweetness. The moon itself moves through phases before fullness appears.
Patience is therefore not passivity. It is cooperation with divine sequence. You must learn to sense when action is ripe and when silence remains necessary. The ego often rushes because it fears uncertainty. Yet sacred timing cannot be manipulated through panic. The invisible world unfolds according to deeper intelligence than ordinary thought can perceive. There will be moments when intuition instructs you to wait quietly despite external pressure. Honor this guidance. And there will be moments when a strange clarity urges immediate movement. Honor that also. The practitioner of silent abundance listens inwardly before acting outwardly. This listening refines discernment over time. You begin sensing the difference between fear-driven urgency and genuine spiritual prompting. One feels contracted and frantic. The other feels calm, precise, almost inevitable. Trust the calmer voice. Nature herself teaches this wisdom endlessly.
The tides do not apologize for retreating before returning stronger. Winter does not resist becoming spring. Night does not compete with morning. Everything sacred moves according to rhythm rather than force. Your prosperity follows the same law. There are seasons for planting, seasons for hidden growth, seasons for visible harvest, and seasons for sacred rest. Many people exhaust themselves because they dishonor these cycles. They demand visible results during periods intended for inward preparation. They panic during silence rather than recognizing it as gestation. But you are learning another way now, the way of attunement. This path requires patience deeper than ordinary waiting. It asks you to trust unseen movement, even when visible evidence appears delayed. It asks you to remember that roots develop underground long before branches emerge toward light. Tonight, before sleeping, place a small bowl of water near your bedside. As you gaze into the water, imagine it absorbing all agitation from your spirit. See its surface becoming perfectly still beneath moonlight. Then whisper softly, "I move in harmony with sacred timing. I do not force what is already unfolding."
leave the water untouched overnight. In the morning, pour it outside onto the earth with gratitude, symbolically
Releasing resistance back into nature for transformation. Simple rituals awaken ancient layers of consciousness. They remind the soul that manifestation is not mechanical control over life, but sacred relationship with invisible law. And the deeper you align with these rhythms, the more abundance begins arriving not through struggle, but through graceful convergence, like dawn arriving precisely when the world is ready to receive light.
There are treasures the soul must carry quietly, not because they are fragile in weakness, but because they are powerful in becoming. Sacred things lose clarity when exposed prematurely to the restless gaze of the world. Like incense burning within open storm wind, their subtle essence disperses before it can fully gather strength. This is why the ancient initiates guarded certain teachings in silence, not from cruelty, not from superiority, but from reverence for spiritual law. They understood that energy protected becomes concentrated. Energy constantly displayed becomes diluted. The world teaches people to reveal everything immediately. Every dream, every plan, every movement of the inner life. Yet this endless exposure fractures the quiet magnetism necessary for manifestation. Each unnecessary explanation leaks force outward before transformation roots deeply enough to sustain itself. The sacred practitioner therefore learns the discipline of holy concealment. You need not announce every seed you plant within your soul. There is an old story carried through hidden monasteries concerning a young disciple who discovered a rare golden bird within the mountains. Its feathers shimmered with extraordinary beauty, unlike anything ever seen in the kingdom below. Filled with excitement, the disciple rushed into the village, proclaiming his discovery to all who would listen. Soon, crowds climbed the mountain seeking the bird. Hunters pursued it greedily. Curious travelers disturbed its resting places.
Noise filled the once silent valleys. Before long, the bird vanished completely. Heartbroken, the disciple returned to the monastery and asked the elder master why such beauty had disappeared. The old master replied, "Some wonders visit only the quiet." Your prosperity is like this golden bird. The more sacred and transformative you're becoming, the more carefully it must be protected during its early stages. Not every mind is capable of holding your vision with purity. Some carry unconscious fear. Others project limitation without realizing it. Some diminish what they cannot yet understand. This is why silence becomes a shield. Not defensive fear, sacred preservation. You are not required to explain your inner path to those devoted entirely to appearances. You are not obligated to seek permission for spiritual refinement. The deepest transformations often unfold invisibly while outward life appears unchanged. Allow this mystery. There is power in becoming inwardly rich before the world notices.
Today, you will begin the ritual of sealed intention. Take a small piece of paper and write one desire you are nurturing privately. Make it precise yet sacred, not merely material acquisition, but the deeper condition beneath it. Instead of writing, "I want more money," write, "I welcome a life of peaceful and purposeful prosperity." Instead of, "I want success," write, "I become inwardly harmonious with meaningful abundance." When you finish, fold the paper carefully 3 times. Hold it between your hands and close your eyes. Imagine golden light surrounding the intention completely, sealing it from interference, doubt, envy, and restless energy. See the desire entering a hidden chamber within your soul, where it can mature safely beneath silence. Then
place the folded paper somewhere secret. Do not reopen it for many weeks. This ritual teaches the subconscious mind to trust invisible gestation. Most people uproot their manifestations repeatedly through anxiety. They speak too soon, doubt too soon, seek reassurance too soon. Yet
the hidden seed cannot survive endless disturbance. Leave it undisturbed within silence. The unseen continues working. There is another mystery hidden within sacred secrecy. Silence deepens inner listening. When you stop explaining yourself constantly, you begin hearing subtler guidance arising from within. Energy once wasted through performance becomes available for perception. Intuition sharpens. Discernment strengthens. You begin sensing the difference between what is truly aligned and what merely seeks external approval. This distinction changes everything. Many people pursue goals that do not belong to their soul because they have absorbed the desires of society unconsciously. They chase status while starving spiritually. They accumulate possessions, yet remain inwardly restless because the path was never authentically theirs. But silence purifies desire. In solitude and secrecy, false ambitions begin falling away. What remains carries unusual stillness around it, a quiet certainty untouched by comparison or performance. This certainty is sacred. Protect it carefully. The ancient Hermetic practitioners taught that power moves most effectively through containment. A river scattered across flat land loses force, but water concentrated through narrow channels becomes capable of turning great wheels of stone. Your attention operates similarly. Every unnecessary conversation about your becoming disperses psychic energy. Every attempt to convince others weakens concentration. But silent devotion gathers force inwardly until manifestation begins occurring with almost mysterious inevitability. You may already sense this truth from your own life. Notice how certain dreams weakened after being exposed too early. Observe how some visions lost vitality beneath external opinions. And remember moments when private intentions unfolded with surprising grace precisely because they remained protected within silence. The soul learns through observation. Tonight, you will perform another quiet exercise. Sit alone in darkness or candlelight. Imagine your life as a sacred garden surrounded by high stone walls. Within this garden, grow your deepest intentions, your healing, your prosperity, your unfolding purpose. Now imagine that outside the walls, many voices move through the world. Some are fearful, some skeptical, some distracted, some well-meaning yet unaware of how fragile becoming can be during its early stages. The walls do not reject the world. They simply protect what is still growing. Walk slowly through this inner garden. Observe the plants carefully. Some are still seeds beneath the earth. Some have become small green shoots. Others are nearly blooming. Offer each one silent gratitude. Then say inwardly, I allow my sacred becoming to mature in peace. Remain there quietly for several moments. Feel the calmness this protection creates. There is great misunderstanding surrounding secrecy. Some believe silence means hiding from life. But sacred secrecy is not fear-based concealment. It is conscious, energetic stewardship. A jeweler does not leave precious gold exposed carelessly in crowded streets.
A monastery protects sacred manuscripts from storms and fire.
Nature herself conceals her deepest processes within darkness, roots underground, children within the womb, transformation within the cocoon. Life protects what matters most until readiness arrives. You belong to this same rhythm. As your inner prosperity strengthens, there will come moments when visible evidence naturally emerges. Opportunities unfold, resources multiply. Peace radiates quietly from your presence. Others may notice changes they cannot fully explain. Resist the temptation to over-explain. Allow mystery to remain. Not all wisdom requires verbal translation. Some truths are transmitted through presence alone. The person aligned with silent abundance carries an atmosphere difficult to describe. They move calmly while others rush. They trust while others panic. They conserve energy while others scatter it through endless reaction. This quiet composure becomes its own form of wealth. For the deepest prosperity is not noisy. It does not beg to be seen. It ripens silently beneath the veil of sacred secrecy until the appointed hour when life itself reveals what silence has been nurturing all along.
There is a form of giving that multiplies unseen. Not the giving performed for praise, not the generosity displayed like ornament before crowds, but the quiet offering made without witness, without announcement, without demand for return. The ancients considered this one of the purest gates to sacred abundance, for the universe responds not merely to action, but to energetic intention hidden within the action. A gift offered to elevate the self-image of the giver carries one vibration. A gift offered silently, with reverence and inward sufficiency, carries another entirely. One contracts, the other expands. Silent giving teaches the soul that abundance already lives within it, and whatever the soul truly accepts inwardly begins multiplying outwardly through mysterious pathways. Most people misunderstand prosperity because they believe wealth begins with accumulation, yet spiritual abundance begins with circulation. Life itself moves through exchange. Rivers flow, breath moves in and out, seasons rotate endlessly between receiving and releasing. Stagnation weakens vitality. Sacred circulation strengthens it.
Darkness settled. She would quietly place a handful of grain beneath a tree where hungry travelers sometimes rested. No one saw her do this. She never spoke of it. Years passed, and somehow the widow never lacked food, despite harsh seasons that brought famine to surrounding villages. Others could not understand how she survived, while those with larger stores became desperate. At last, a wandering mystic explained, she never allowed fear to close her hand. This is the deeper law, hidden beneath silent generosity. The fearful spirit clings tightly because it believes supply is limited. But the soul aligned with sacred abundance understands that life flows through openness, trust, and energetic circulation. You must therefore learn the ritual of invisible blessing. Choose small acts of generosity that no one will trace back to you. Leave food where it may nourish another quietly. Offer anonymous assistance when possible. Bless someone inwardly without revealing it. Place beauty into the world without attaching your identity to the act. Most importantly, give without weakening yourself. Sacred giving is not martyrdom. It is energetic harmony. The ancient mystics understood that every hidden act performed with genuine coherence becomes impressed upon the invisible field surrounding your life.
Not as punishment or reward, but resonance. The inner atmosphere created through silent generosity
changes your relationship with existence itself. You stop experiencing life as hostile scarcity. You begin experiencing life as flowing reciprocity. Tonight, perform a simple ritual. Take a small coin, bill, or object of value into your hands. Sit quietly before candlelight. As you hold it, imagine all fear surrounding money dissolving gently from your nervous system. Feel yourself releasing the ancient tension of lack carried unconsciously through generations of struggle, anxiety, and survival. Then whisper softly, "There is enough for sacred circulation." Hold the object against your heart for several breaths. Tomorrow, give it away quietly. Not dramatically, not sacrificially, silently. Do not wait for acknowledgement. Walk away peacefully afterward. This act may seem small, yet hidden rituals reshape consciousness over time. The subconscious mind learns through repeated energetic experience. Each silent offering weakens the internal architecture of fear while strengthening the vibration of trust. And trust magnetizes abundance.
There is another mystery within silent giving. It protects the purity of energy. The moment generosity becomes performance, the ego often enters, seeking recognition, superiority, or emotional debt. But when no witness exists, the offering remains spiritually clean. The act becomes communion rather than transaction. This purity carries unusual force. Nature herself reveals this law endlessly. The sun gives light without demanding praise. Trees offer shade, even to strangers. Rivers nourish lands they will never see. Life flourishes through unobstructed giving. You are part of this same sacred movement. As you deepen this practice, notice how your relationship with wealth begins changing internally. Money ceases feeling heavy with fear or desperation. Instead, it becomes energy capable of movement, blessing, and purposeful expression. This subtle shift matters greatly. Many people unconsciously repel prosperity because they associate wealth with guilt, conflict, greed, or anxiety. Their nervous systems contract around receiving itself. But silent generosity dissolves this contraction gradually. The soul begins trusting that abundance can flow through clean hands and peaceful intention. You become less afraid to receive because you no longer fear becoming spiritually corrupted by possession. This balance is essential. The path of silent abundance does not reject material prosperity. It sanctifies it through consciousness. Wealth becomes dangerous only when disconnected from inward harmony. But prosperity rooted in reverence becomes capable of nourishing many lives quietly.
There is wisdom in becoming both receptive and generous. Breath itself teaches this law. You cannot inhale continuously without exhaling, nor can you give endlessly without receiving restoration. Sacred circulation requires balance. Listen carefully to your spirit as you practice generosity. Give from centeredness rather than depletion. A candle that destroys itself completely cannot continue offering light. The ancient healers understood this deeply. They withdrew regularly into solitude to replenish their inner reservoirs before returning again to service. You must learn this rhythm also. Silent abundance grows through sustainable harmony, not self-erasure. There will come moments when the ego whispers
for recognition. You may feel tempted to reveal your generosity indirectly, to hint at your goodness, to seek acknowledgement for your invisible acts. Observe this gently, without judgment. Then return to silence. Remember the hidden widow beside the road. Her prosperity multiplied not because she performed abundance outwardly,
but because she embodied trust inwardly. This is the true alchemy. A closed spirit lives in constant fear of loss, but an open spirit enters partnership with the deeper intelligence of life itself. Such a being no longer sees existence as endless competition for limited resources. They understand something subtler, that abundance is an energetic relationship before it becomes material form. As this understanding deepens within you, unexpected shifts may occur. Assistance appears at meaningful moments. Needs resolve with unusual timing. Doors open quietly. Resources arrive through pathways impossible to predict logically. Do not become superstitious about these things. Remain humble before mystery. The universe is not a machine responding mechanically to ritual. It is living intelligence responding to resonance. Silent giving refines your resonance until you become more harmonious with the natural flow of prosperity itself. This harmony
cannot be forced. It must be cultivated patiently, reverently, privately. And so you continue walking quietly through the world, carrying hidden blessings within your hands, like seeds scattered softly across unseen fields, never needing applause, never demanding witness, trusting that what is offered in silence returns multiplied through invisible law. For all true abundance flows most beautifully through the soul that has learned the sacred art of quiet generosity. Would you like me to continue with Chapter 8?
Long before the outer world changes, the inner self begins wearing a new face. Not a false mask created for performance, but a sacred identity quietly accepted within consciousness. The ancients understood that reality responds to the state you inhabit most consistently. You move gradually toward the image you hold of yourself in silence, just as rivers move toward the sea without needing instruction. Most people attempt to change their lives while remaining loyal to an old inner identity. They seek abundance while secretly believing themselves unworthy of peace. They pray for prosperity while continuing to rehearse stories of limitation within their hidden thoughts. And so the outer world faithfully mirrors the inward condition already
accepted as truth. The mirror of life does not ask what you wish for briefly. It reflects what you become inwardly. This is why the masters of manifestation guarded the teaching of assumed identity with such care. They knew that imagination is not fantasy alone. It is spiritual architecture, a hidden blueprint through which reality begins organizing itself over time. What you repeatedly embody inwardly becomes magnetic within the visible world. You must therefore stop waiting for outer proof before allowing yourself to become inwardly abundant. The seed does not wait to become the tree before carrying the pattern of the tree within itself. There is an old legend concerning a poor calligrapher who lived beside a forgotten river in the East. Though he possessed little money and worked in obscurity, he carried himself with unusual calmness. His clothing remained simple, yet he moved through the marketplace with quiet dignity, as though inwardly connected to some invisible inheritance. Others mocked him gently. "How can you walk with such peace," they asked, "when you own almost nothing?" The calligrapher only smiled. Years later, the emperor himself discovered the man's work hidden within an abandoned temple. The beauty of the calligraphy was unlike anything the court had ever seen. Soon, the once-forgotten artist was summoned into the royal palace and given honor beyond measure. When asked how he endured years of obscurity without bitterness, the calligrapher answered, "I became inwardly rich long before the world noticed." This is the secret. Outer prosperity arrives more naturally when the soul ceases identifying with lack. Not arrogance, not denial.
Embodiment. Tonight,
you will enter the ritual of assumed identity. Sit alone within your sacred space. Dim the lights until the room feels soft and timeless. Breathe slowly until your thoughts begin settling like dust descending through still air. Then, close your eyes. Imagine yourself 1 year from now, fully harmonized with silent abundance. Do not focus first upon possessions. Instead, study your presence. How does this future self move through ordinary moments? How does this version of you awaken in the morning? How do they handle money, conversation, challenge, and uncertainty? Observe carefully. This self does not rush anxiously. There is spaciousness within their nervous system. Their eyes carry quiet clarity. Their speech is measured. Their energy no longer leaks through constant fear or explanation. They trust life differently. Now, imagine entering the body of this future self completely. Feel their posture becoming your posture, their calm becoming your calm, their abundance becoming your atmosphere. Do not pretend. Receive. Remain there for several minutes until the emotional texture of this identity feels familiar rather than distant. Then, whisper inwardly, I accept the sacred identity of quiet prosperity. Repeat the phrase slowly, not to convince yourself forcefully, but to plant it gently within the deeper mind. This practice changes you gradually. The subconscious responds powerfully to repeated emotional embodiment. When you consistently inhabit the feeling of abundance inwardly, the nervous system begins reorganizing around that condition. Decisions change, reactions soften, perception sharpens, and perception itself alters destiny. For the fearful identity sees obstacles everywhere. The abundant identity notices openings invisible to anxious minds. One contracts, the other receives. This is why inner identity shapes outer experience so profoundly. The world often speaks about manifestation as though it were merely attracting objects, but the deeper teaching concerns transformation of self. The visible life becomes an echo of the inward state most deeply accepted. Ancient mystics practiced this secretly. Some would walk through empty rooms as though already inhabiting future prosperity. Others spoke inwardly to themselves, using the tone of one already at peace. Some rehearsed states of gratitude long before visible evidence appeared. They were not lying to themselves. They were cultivating resonance. A musician tunes the instrument before the performance begins. You are tuning consciousness itself. There is another reason this practice must remain private. New identities are delicate during their early formation. If exposed constantly to cynical voices, the old self attempts to return through fear and doubt. The world often pressures people to remain who they have always been, because familiar identities keep collective patterns stable. But you are no longer devoted to old patterns. You are becoming. Protect this becoming gently. You need not announce your transformation. Let it deepen quietly beneath appearances, like roots expanding underground. The strongest trees develop unseen foundations long before branches stretch toward heaven. So too must your inward abundance mature privately. Throughout the coming days, begin carrying this assumed identity into ordinary life through subtle actions. Drink water slowly, as one who is already inwardly abundant. Handle money calmly, rather than fearfully. Walk without invisible apology. Speak less from anxiety and more from centered presence. These small adjustments matter. Every repeated action teaches the subconscious who you believe yourself to be. Identity becomes embodied through consistent ritualized behavior. You may notice resistance arising. Old thoughts may whisper, "This is not who you truly are." Observe such voices compassionately. They are echoes of previous conditioning, not eternal truth. The caterpillar would also fear becoming unrecognizable if it could understand the cocoon. Transformation always feels unfamiliar before it becomes natural. Remain patient with yourself. You are not forcing a false personality onto your spirit. You are uncovering the deeper self, long buried beneath fear, scarcity, and inherited limitation. This deeper self already exists. The ritual simply reveals it. There will come a time when your outer life begins reflecting these inward changes more visibly. Opportunities align, financial pathways open, relationships shift, new forms of support emerge naturally. Do not become shocked when this happens. The visible world is slower than consciousness, but it follows eventually, like dawn arriving after the unseen turning of the earth. Remember always, the sacred practitioner does not wait for permission from the world to become inwardly prosperous. They enter the chamber of assumed identity privately and allow silent embodiment to reshape reality from within. And what is cultivated faithfully within silence eventually becomes impossible for the outer world to ignore.
Not every presence deserves entrance into your inner sanctuary. This truth was understood deeply by the ancient mystics, though the modern world has largely forgotten it. They knew that human beings exchange more than words with one another. Thoughts carry atmosphere. Emotions carry vibration. Attention itself shapes the subtle field surrounding the soul. To live without energetic discernment is to leave the gates of your sacred temple open through every storm. Many people unknowingly weaken their prosperity, not through lack of effort, but through constant exposure to fear, envy, cynicism, and spiritual noise. They absorb the anxieties of others until their inner clarity becomes clouded. Their visions lose strength beneath collective doubt. Their nervous systems remain overstimulated by endless emotional interference. Yet abundance grows best within protected stillness. A garden cannot flourish when trampled constantly by wandering feet. You must therefore learn the sacred art of energetic protection. Not through paranoia, not through hatred of the world, through reverence for your becoming. There is an old account among wandering desert sages concerning a healer who carried unusual peace wherever he traveled. Villages transformed after his arrival. Conflicts softened. Sick minds became calmer. Crops even seemed to flourish more easily in places where he remained for some time. A young student once asked him, "Master, how do you protect your spirit while walking among so much suffering?" The healer replied, "I do not carry every storm into my inner home." The student did not understand at first. Years later, after becoming exhausted by absorbing the emotions of everyone around him, he finally grasped the teaching. Compassion does not require energetic collapse. Presence does not require self-abandonment. The sacred practitioner must remain inwardly rooted, even while moving through turbulent worlds. So must you. Your energy is precious. Where attention flows repeatedly, life force follows. Every conversation, environment, image, and emotional entanglement leaves subtle impressions upon consciousness. Some nourish your spirit, others drain it quietly over time. begin noticing the difference. Pay attention to how your body feels after certain interactions. Observe which environments leave your nervous system contracted. Notice which conversations pull you toward fear, comparison, or heaviness. You need not condemn anyone. Simply become discerning. Tonight, you will begin the ritual of the inner gate. Sit quietly within darkness or soft candlelight. Close your eyes and imagine yourself standing before a beautiful ancient temple made of stone and gold. This temple represents your inner world, your consciousness, your energy, your sacred becoming. At the entrance stands a gate. Notice that you possess the key. Now imagine opening the gate slowly and observing what enters your temple each day. Voices, fears, images, demands, opinions, noise. Some enter gently, carrying nourishment and peace. Others arrive chaotically, scattering dust and disorder through the sacred halls within you. Observe without
judgment. Then imagine yourself calmly closing the gate, not permanently, wisely. See golden light surrounding the temple walls completely. Feel the atmosphere within becoming clear, spacious, and calm once more. Then whisper inwardly, I protect my sacred energy with wisdom and peace. Remain there quietly for several moments. Feel the relief of inward boundaries. Many spiritually sensitive souls struggle with abundance because they unconsciously absorb the emotional turbulence surrounding them. They become overwhelmed by collective fear regarding money, survival, success, and self-worth. Over time, these energies distort their own inner resonance. But you are learning another path now, the path of sacred containment. This means becoming intentional about what enters your consciousness. Reduce unnecessary exposure to noise designed to provoke fear. Step away from conversations devoted entirely to complaint and bitterness. Spend less time explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding. Protect your mornings especially, for the mind is highly receptive upon waking. Your first moments each day shape the energetic atmosphere that follows. Fill them carefully.
Ancient initiates often began dawn in silence before speaking to anyone. They understood that consciousness emerging from sleep resembles still water, easily impressed by the first energies it encounters. You may begin adopting similar rituals. Before touching the outer world each morning, place one hand upon your chest. Breathe slowly. Ask yourself quietly, what atmosphere should I be today? Then choose intentionally. Peace, clarity, abundance, patience, trust. These are not emotions. They are energetic environments. The more consistently you cultivate them inwardly, the more reality begins reflecting them outwardly. There is another hidden teaching concerning energetic protection. Do not reveal your sacred practices carelessly. Not every soul can understand silent abundance without projecting fear or mockery upon it. Some will attempt to pull you back toward old patterns because your transformation unsettles the identities they cling to within themselves. Remain compassionate, but remain private. The flame protected from harsh wind burns steadily through the night. So too must your inner work remain sheltered during its growth. You are not required to defend
Your peace? You are not obligated to convince others of unseen truths. Silence itself becomes protection. As your practice deepens, you may notice an unusual sensitivity emerging within you. Crowded places may feel heavier. Certain environments may disturb your spirit more quickly than before. This is not weakness. It is refinement.
The clearer water becomes, the more easily it detects impurity. Yet do not allow discernment to become fearfulness. The purpose of energetic protection is not withdrawal from humanity. It is inward coherence. You are learning how to remain rooted within yourself while moving gracefully through the world. Like a lantern carried carefully through darkness without allowing the flame to extinguish. There are practical ways to strengthen this inner stability. Spend time near natural water whenever possible. Rivers, rain, oceans, even simple bowls of water possess cleansing symbolic power recognized across ancient traditions. Walk slowly beneath trees. Open windows regularly to invite fresh air into your space. Burn incense or light
Candles with conscious intention rather than habit. Small rituals reshape atmosphere. Your living environment matters more than you realize. Rooms absorb emotional residue. Disorder clouds the mind subtly. Spaces filled constantly with noise weaken inner receptivity. Treat your home not merely as shelter, but as extension of consciousness itself. Bring calmness into it deliberately. There will be moments when you feel misunderstood on this path. Others may interpret your quietness as distance. Some may not understand why you protect your energy more carefully now. You need not explain endlessly. The sacred practitioner learns that constant justification weakens inner authority. Instead, remain kind, grounded, and inwardly clear. A mountain does not apologize for standing apart from the storm. And slowly, through this practice of energetic stewardship, your spirit becomes less reactive, less fragmented, less easily disturbed by passing turbulence. Within that protected stillness, abundance begins growing more naturally. For prosperity flourishes best where peace is guarded wisely. Beneath the visible movements of the world, there is a quieter current carrying all life forward. Most people never sense it. They become consumed by surfaces, appearances, delays, fears, and temporary conditions, believing reality is fixed by what the eyes presently see. Yet the ancient mystics taught that existence is far more fluid than it appears. Beneath form flows an invisible river of intelligence, endlessly arranging, dissolving, and reshaping all things according to deeper laws. The soul aligned with silent abundance learns to move with this river rather than against it. This is the beginning of true ease. Not passivity, not surrender born from defeat. Sacred cooperation. There is an old legend from a forgotten mountain province concerning a ferryman who guided travelers across a dangerous river known for its violent currents. Many younger boatmen fought desperately against the water, exhausting themselves in fear. Yet the old ferryman crossed with remarkable calmness, even during storms. A traveler once asked him his secret. The ferryman dipped his hand into the water and replied, "The river carries those who stop arguing with its nature." The traveler pondered these words for many years before understanding them.
Life itself is this river. When you resist every uncertainty, cling to rigid expectations, or panic during invisible seasons, your energy becomes tangled in opposition. Fear contracts perception. The nervous system tightens. Abundance struggles to flow through a spirit constantly braced against life. But when you become inwardly receptive, something changes. You begin sensing that existence is not withholding from you. It is responding to your state of being. This realization softens the soul. Tonight, you will enter the ritual of the sacred river. Sit quietly in your sanctuary. Place a bowl of water before you, if possible. Let the surface become still.
Observe how calmly it reflects light without effort. Now close your eyes. Imagine yourself standing beside a vast river flowing beneath moonlight. The water moves slowly, silently, endlessly toward distant, unseen horizons. This river represents the deeper intelligence guiding your life. Step into the water gently. At first, you may feel resistance, fear of losing control, fear of uncertainty, fear that without struggle, nothing will happen. These fears are old echoes, carried by generations,
Taught to survive through tension.
do not fight them.
Allow the river to hold you. Feel yourself floating peacefully rather than battling the current. Notice that the water supports you naturally when you stop thrashing against it. Then whisper inwardly, I allow sacred abundance to carry me through divine flow. Remain there quietly. Feel the nervous system softening. Most manifestations are delayed not because life refuses them, but because the mind strangles its own receptivity through constant anxiety. The spirit becomes like clenched fists attempting to grasp water. But abundance enters more easily through openness. This is why stillness matters so deeply. In stillness, you begin trusting the unseen movement
Already occurring beneath appearances. You no longer demand immediate evidence every moment. You understand that invisible rearrangements are constantly unfolding beyond the reach of ordinary perception. The seed trusts darkness before the sprout appears. The tide retreats before returning again. Winter itself prepares the hidden architecture of spring. So too are unseen movements occurring within your life now. Trust this process quietly. There is another mystery hidden within the river. What you resist persistently often strengthens within consciousness. Fear resisted violently becomes obsession. Lack feared constantly becomes energetically magnified. But when observed calmly, without panic, old limitations begin dissolving naturally, like mist beneath morning sunlight.
The sacred practitioner, therefore, learns the art of non-resistance. This does not mean accepting suffering passively. It means ceasing to feed unwanted conditions with continuous emotional struggle. Attention itself nourishes experience. Where fear fixes itself obsessively, energy accumulates. You must learn to redirect rather than battle. When anxious thoughts arise concerning money, do not wrestle them endlessly. Acknowledge them softly. Then return attention toward abundance, trust, and inward
Sufficiency. Over time, new neural and energetic pathways strengthen through repetition. The river changes course gradually. So does consciousness. The ancient Taoist sages spoke often of water because it reveals the nature of true power. Water does not forcefully attack stone, yet over centuries it reshapes entire mountains. It yields without weakness. It adapts without losing essence. It moves around obstacles while continuing faithfully toward the sea. Become like this, inwardly. Rigid minds fracture beneath pressure. Flowing minds adapt and endure. You may notice as this practice deepens that opportunities begin arriving with less strain. Certain problems resolve unexpectedly. Meetings occur at meaningful times. Ideas emerge effortlessly during still moments rather than through frantic forcing. This is not coincidence alone. When inner resistance softens, perception widens.
You begin noticing pathways previously hidden by fear. The field of life responds differently to a spirit moving in coherence rather than contraction. Do not mistake this for laziness. Sacred flow still requires action. The ferryman must still guide the boat. The gardener must still tend the soil. But their actions arise from harmony.
Rather than desperation, this distinction changes everything. There will be days when external conditions appear unchanged despite your inner work. During such times, remember the river beneath the surface. Much movement occurs invisibly before visible transformation appears. The roots spread underground first. The moon alters tides before dawn reveals the sea. The unseen always precedes the seen. Remain faithful to the process. Each moment you choose trust over panic, spaciousness over contraction, silence over noise, you strengthen your alignment with sacred abundance. This alignment accumulates quietly over time, like water carving stone. There is also wisdom in releasing the need to control every detail of manifestation. Many people weaken their prosperity through obsessive attachment to exact outcomes. They grip tightly from fear, unable to trust the intelligence of life itself. But the sacred practitioner plans intentions carefully, then allows space for the invisible to arrange the path. Sometimes abundance arrives through doors the rational mind would never have imagined. Sometimes apparent delays protect you from misaligned outcomes. Sometimes what leaves your life creates space for what truly belongs. The river knows pathways hidden from the eye standing shore. Tonight, before sleep, place your hands gently over your stomach and breathe slowly. Imagine an inner river flowing through your body, washing away tension, fear, urgency, and resistance. Feel the current moving through every part of your being, restoring harmony and trust.
Then, whisper softly, "I flow with sacred timing and unseen guidance." Allow sleep to carry you afterward. For even while you rest, the river beneath all things continues moving quietly toward your becoming. And all true abundance arrives most naturally to the soul that has learned how to stop fighting the current of life itself.